guest to the most fun Rotary Club, the Rotary Club of Little Rock. Before I make a couple announcements, I do want to give a special welcome to the delegation from Cape Coast, Guana. They are in town for meetings with Mayor Scott and the Sister Cities Commission, so they are all right here. Thank you for being there. Nelson's getting their picture for us. So thanks for being here. Now I'd like to invite past President Christina Bolhouse, who will take us through our five-way test, pledge, and prayer, and then Sue Owens to do guest introductions. After that, Club 99er Jason Parker and his son Will are going to make a special announcement, and then following Jason and Will, Julie Brandenberger, another Club 99er, is going to talk more about a new affinity group we've started. So, Christina?
All right, greetings everyone. Please join me in the five-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Is it fun? Yay. Please bow your heads for our prayer. O Creator of all, we are so thankful for this day. We pray especially on this day for the farmers. We are thankful for those who toil every day to provide food for us and to supply our needs. We pray also for those in positions of leadership, that wisdom may prevail. We pray for peace, and we ask for guidance on how we may make a difference to others, and remember always the importance of service above self. O Lord of all, we pray, amen. And now for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Rotarians. We're so excited you're here, and I'm here to do guest introductions, and we have almost 2 full pages. So Karen has allowed me to ask all of our guests to please stand along with the Rotarian that brought them, and so we can recognize you. Thank you all for being here today.
Good afternoon, Rotarians. I'm Jason Parker. I'm the Club 99 chairperson for the Aldersgate Fish Fry. So just here to remind you to buy tickets. The Fish Fry, Sunday, October 29th, just a couple of weeks away. Hopefully many of you have already been, so you kind of know the program, but tickets are $20 a piece. You can buy a family pack of 4 for $65. We'll have 2 options. You can come and eat on the grounds and get a tour and get an experience at Aldersgate, or we can do drive-through. That's another option. We've got flyers and materials on the tables that have a QR code. We can make it real easy. You can buy tickets right there from that with a credit card. If you want to use cash or check, Karen will have that available, or see me afterwards. Wendy Woods is also trying to get some volunteers. We probably need about 40 volunteers for the day of, so if you're interested in helping with that, please see Wendy or myself. We'll help get that coordinated. And then I've brought a special guy today. Will, my son Will, has a special connection to Aldersgate, and he wants to talk to y'all a little bit about that.
As my dad said, my name is Will Parker, and I am a freshman at Catholic High School. I know many of you are thinking I might have bet on the Razorbacks this weekend and had to get a bad haircut, but actually, I have alopecia. I am excited to attend my first ever Rotary meeting. Rotary runs deep in my family. My great-grandfather and grandfather are past presidents and Paul Harris Fellows at their hometown Rotary Club in Blytheville, Arkansas. And as many of you know, my great-uncle Dan is the Club 99 Club Service Chair. Over the summer, I volunteered at Camp Aldersgate. I volunteered, a volunteer is just really a buddy for the campers, and they also can help with the counselors. The volunteers are going into high school and high school aged. Camp Aldersgate would not have the amazing opportunities for the different camps if they did not have the help of you. From the fundraisers, they put the money back into the camp and making it a better experience, and grow Camp Aldersgate to let more kids see how amazing Aldersgate is. I heard about the camp from my parents, but also I have a cousin who loved Aldersgate and went to the diabetes camp. Now today I will be focusing on my time at Aldersgate. Aldersgate is an amazing camp that gives a camp experience to campers ages 6 to 26 who otherwise would not have a camp experience. They offer a CODA camp for kids of all different diagnoses, cardiac and arthritis camp, cardiac arthritis and kidney disorders camp, diabetes camp, spina bifida camp, bleeding disorders, and oncology camp. Campers have the opportunity to bring a friend or a sibling to experience camp with them. Aldersgate has many different activities such as arts and crafts, canoeing, archery, which has numerous different accessible ways for the campers to shoot the bow. They also have zip lining, and they have a chairlift that can lift wheelchair-bound campers to zip line. Every week they have a fishing derby, and they figure out who catches the most fish, the biggest fish, and the smallest fish. The pool is one of the most popular activities. They have handrails around the pool and a ramp for wheelchair-bound campers. All the campers love it during the hot summer days. Campers also have an activity called Choice Club, which is when the campers go to the activity center and can play basketball, volleyball, or even make a fun craft. At the beginning of the week, the whole camp gathers and eats s'mores and sings songs and has a dance party. Other nights, they watch a movie, have a carnival night, a talent show where the campers can sing and dance with their friends, favorite volunteer, or counselor. And the final thing is a theme dance where the campers all have a great time. While at Aldersgate, I got to see all different diagnoses. All campers come from different walks of life, and they all have an amazing time together. As a volunteer, I got to experience it firsthand. I stayed in a cabin with 6 campers, 4 counselors, and 2 other volunteers. Aldersgate is special to me because I was able to hear campers talk about how they look forward to this all year round. During camp, you can for sure hear constant laughs and giggles all day long. Summer camp is special to me because I look forward to going to Brook Hill Ranch every summer, and I just believe that any summer camp is special, any special experience, but especially Camp Aldersgate is special. Thank you so much for letting me speak on Aldersgate today.
Good afternoon. I am excited to announce a new affinity club, Club 99 Book Club. The survey results indicated that there is a huge interest in leadership and business books. So we were going to be kicking this off next month. President Gaddafi is up first with The Power of Fun by Catherine Price. This is a light book, but very thought-provoking. It is available online through Wordsworth. You can also get a copy at Cal's, both in the book format or audio. Mitch Bettis is hosting in January, and then Christina Bullhouse in February. We hope everyone can join us for these fun activities.
All right. Well, thank you, Jason, for serving as the fish fry chair this year. And thank you, Will. That was awesome. Sounds like you had, and I've heard from your parents and lots of people that you had an amazing experience there as a counselor. So thank you so much for sharing that. And Julie, I'm very excited about the Leadership Book Club. I hope you guys are too. Like Julie said, we had a great response, and we've had already a great response of members who want to lead one of those and pick a book. I mean, you saw Mitch's book is on Lincoln, I believe, and then Christina's I've already bought because I talked to her the other day about it. So very excited, and thank you guys for being willing to share your love of books. All right, so for our guests, this year our theme here at Club 99 is the power of fun. And so each week we kind of talk about the power of fun together and talk about ways that we can bring more fun into our lives. So this week I really wanted to talk about laughing. And here is the thing, and several people are sitting in this audience. So this past weekend, we had our Arkansas Women's Leadership Forum, which is a group of amazing women leaders in this in the state. And we had a retreat at Oaklawn, and I'm telling you, we laughed so hard. I mean, just like howling laughter. And it's like, you're having one of those true fun moments when the next day you're talking about how hard you laughed at something. And so that is what I wanted to talk about, because laughter is often a way for us to tell if we're, basically enjoying ourselves. So maybe say you're spending a night or spending a Friday night reading. That's one, that's a moment where you're enjoying yourself. But if you're having a lot of laughter, it's probably an indication that you're having one of those true fun moments that we've been talking about. There's connection, there's playfulness, and there's flow. So here's the cool thing about laughter. It reduces levels of cortisol and accompanying stress hormone, which is adrenaline, which may help explain why people who laugh more often have been found to have lower risks of cardiovascular disease and early death from other causes. Genuine laughter also triggers a cascade of reactions in our body that reduces inflammation in blood vessels, reduces clotting, decreases blood pressure, and improves vascular health. These are all things that scientists way smarter than I have figured out. It also doesn't hurt that when we are laughing, we're breathing more deeply, which is a lot, that's good for a lot of reasons. And listen to this stat on humor. Appreciating humor has been found to improve the short-term memory of older adults, an effect that is likely also due to laughter's ability to reduce cortisol. So if you didn't know, high levels of cortisol impairs our memories and makes it harder to process information and learn new things. So laughter, it helps with our mind too, and helps us keep our brain going here. So laughter equals connection. Comedian John Cleese said, "It's almost impossible to maintain any kind of distance or any sense of social hierarchy when you're just howling with laughter." So laughter brings us together, right? And that's what we're talking about in true fun, that connection. It's what groups like Rotary do. It's what your friend groups are doing. Up there you can see the continuum of pleasant experiences. You have enjoyment and you have true fun, but the more laughter, you're probably in more of one of those more true fun moments. So given how often true fun leads to laughter, this also just suggests that if we care about our health, we should prioritize true fun, which we've been talking about. So again, remember, laughter leads to that, and I hope that you guys are all looking for ways to bring a lot of laughter into your lives. I can tell you, and my friends can tell you, that I have a lot of laughter in my life. So I'm looking at Susan and a couple other people who were there this past weekend. We had too much fun. All right, so now we're gonna see which member is having fun this week. I think there's some laughter involved, so let's go.
My name is Alex Hudson, and I am the Special Events and Development Manager for Ronald McDonald House Charities of Arkansas. My husband went to Ireland and Paris last year, and he likes to call it the Alex's unofficial food tour of Ireland and Paris. It was a great time, and I really just love being in other cities and other countries, connecting with locals and just really immersing myself in the culture and kind of finding out what makes them tick. Sometimes the smallest bars or the smallest pubs are the best place to find good conversation. So one of the things that really brings a smile to my face, and one of the times when I really have the most fun, is pretty much any Friday night out in Little Rock. I think there are so many untapped areas of this city that offer such cultural experiences for everyone, and just a Friday night in Little Rock can be a great time. So many great restaurants. One of my favorite places is to hit up the fountain. Just kind of really taking advantage of what we have here in Little Rock. I guess you could say that I'm big on Little Rock. One of the things that really brings joy and I consider fun in my life is taking care of my begonia collection that I have. Over 30 different species. During COVID, started collecting plants and really kind of getting back into gardening and horticulture, which started at a young age for me, gardening with my grandparents and really kind of learning what makes a good green thumb. There's actually over 2,000 varieties of different begonias, and so I have quite a ways to go with my collection. One of the reasons I love begonias is that there's such a vast differences between all the different species. One may be small and mounded, one may be cane-like and tall, so lots of different variety there. So I will say, if I do extend our collection, I'll definitely need some more space. We have a large sunroom right on Kavanaugh, and it's full to the brim with plants. So one of my favorite begonias in my collection is one of my Rex begonias. It has a great variation in the leaves, and also it tends to be very hardy. It's easy to take care of, it's not got a bad temperament, and it's just across the board a delight to take care of.
I mean, y'all, Alex talked about those begonias like his babies. I'm so impressed. And really, I'm a really horrible plant taker. So taking care of plants. So Alex, I'm gonna have you come give me some tips on that. I loved that, thank you. All right, I would now like to ask Chris Bond with Arkansas Business Publishing Group to the podium to introduce our speakers today.
All right, it's my privilege to introduce today's panel focused on agriculture in Arkansas and the federal farm bill. Before I dive into speaker introductions, I want to give some context to what the industry means to each of us in this room, the folks who are watching online, and frankly, the world. Agriculture is our state's largest industry and adds more than, depending on what numbers you look at, but this one sounded good, adds more than $20 billion to the state's economy annually. And Arkansas's agriculture impact, as I mentioned, is felt well beyond the borders of our state. Arkansas rice is shipped to 75 foreign countries. We rank in the top 10 producers nationally in commodities, including rice, catfish, poultry, cotton, eggs, peanuts, and I didn't realize grain sorghum, and I probably missed a few in that list. Each of our panelists and our moderator today play a vital role in maintaining Arkansas's position as a top agriculture state. First, we'll introduce moderator Ellen Cockrell, who has a strong background in nutrition education and has been a legendary volunteer organizer and fundraiser for more than 40 years. Following the death of her husband in 2021, Ellen became the first female manager of Tiller & Company, founded in 1876, where she manages 4 farm partnerships, among other things. Senator John Bozeman serves as the ranking member of the Committee on Agriculture, Nutrition, and Forestry, which enables him to play a key role in influencing policy that relates to the agriculture economy, nutrition programs, and quality of life in rural America, particularly Arkansas. As a 5th-generation Arkansan, Senator Bozeman has been a consistent champion for the state's farmers, ranchers, and loggers. Hallie Schaffner is a 6th-generation row crop farmer in Newport and serves as CEO of SFR Seed, a 2,000-acre rice and soybean parent seed production and research firm. Schaffner is a rock star in this industry. She's been recognized as a 2022 Champion of Conservation by Garden and Gun magazine. She was recognized recently as one of Seed World magazine's Next Generation Leaders, and she was just recently recognized as a Women's Foundation of Arkansas Top 100 Women of Impact, which you can read about in ABPG's soiree special publication on Women of Impact in Arkansas. And finally, we have Lake City native Wes Ward, who serves as Arkansas's 3rd Secretary of Agriculture, which includes the divisions of forestry, livestock, poultry, natural resources, and the plant industries. Secretary Ward was appointed to the position in March 2015 by Governor Asa Hutchinson and was reappointed earlier this year by Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders. He also serves as Vice President for the National Association of State Departments of Agriculture. Please join me in welcoming our panel today.
As you can tell, I take control wherever I go. They'll be seated. Thank you very much, Chris, for that great introduction. I appreciate everything that you said. As you can tell, I know just enough to be dangerous. So in that case, I have the experts here that can tell you everything you've always wanted to know about agriculture and a lot of what you need to know but you didn't know. In a recent survey, they found out that 71% of the U.S. citizens had no idea what's in the Farm Bill or anything about agriculture. So we're here today to introduce this group to bring you up above that 70% so that you'll know more than most of the other people in the United States about agri. Well, one thing as a dietitian I know is that after you've had this fabulous Arkansas-grown meal today, is that with tryptophan and a couple other items that are in your food, you tend to drift off. So in training in nutrition, I know how to remove the drowsiness from you so that you'll be super alert to our incredible panelists today. So I have a little game we're going to play. There's no winner and there's no loser. So if your grandparent grew up on a farm or had a farm, I want you to stand. If your parents have a farm or grew up on a farm, I want you to stand. If you grew up on a farm, stay standing, guys. Got to keep that blood flowing. So if you grew up on a farm, stand. Don't sit down, please. Keep standing. What is it that's so hard to understand? If you own a business, such as a bank, insurance company, a auto parts store, anything like that, supplies products or services to a farm, please stand. Every banker in this room should stand. If you enjoyed your food today, stand up. Okay, now that I have your blood flowing, you may be seated, but you may not drift off. I want to thank our panelists today who are experts in their own way of everything that you need to know about agri, but you don't know. Chris stole some of my thunder, but I also know as an educator, the thing to do is if you repeat it, you'll remember it. So I would like to ask for the first slide to come up. Okay, get this. 42% of the land in Arkansas is occupied by farms, 57% by forest. I'm no math genius, but that's 99% of our land in Arkansas. So you're sitting in 1%. Northwest Arkansas is 1%. So if you think about it, we are 99% farms and forestry. That's incredible when you think about it. Second slide. Oh, and the average farm is 324 acres. This is all of our top products. Chris told you about that. Next. He told you about this too. So today with our panelists, we're going to talk about, next slide, what's the Farm Bill? So this is from the America's Families Mission. It's to protect our food security, support future job security, advance environmental sustainability, and ensure farmers are able to continue stocking Americans' pantry. So I would like to ask Senator Bozeman to start by telling us what is the Farm Bill and why is it important to us? And I'll have each one of the panelists answer that question.
Okay, well, the Farm Bill is a contract that we make with our farmers every 5 years. So in 2018, we had the last Farm Bill that was done. Now here we are in 2023. It actually expired on October 1st. We don't have to worry about that too much because we have enough money and stuff for it to go forward until the first of the year. It's not uncommon at all for it to expire. I think the average is about 9 months. So it's just a complex thing. It is really important because we saw all of the statistics It's 25% of the economy in Arkansas, by far number one. But if you get outside of any town of any size, it's not 25%, it's 85 or 90%. It's all that's left. We've lost our manufacturing. And so the Farm Bill, primarily, what it does is allow farmers to have the risk management tools that they need so they can go to the bank, so they can borrow the money they need to go forward, to know that there's a backstop. That there is a crop insurance program, the various other programs that allow them to have the ability, like I say, to borrow the money and continue in business.
Well, I'm this on. Oh, well, I'm not an expert in the behemoth that is the Farm Bill, but coming from a farmer's perspective on the ground, and then hearing from other farmers, I hear the drumbeat of conservation, so investing in farmers being able to implement regenerative agricultural practices. Some of those we're trialing on our farm, and those are voluntary things that farmers are opting into, but asking for provisions to be made in the Farm Bill to help us make those initial investments to become more environmentally friendly, more financially sustainable. A lot about risk management, of course. Farming is a very unique business in that we go borrow money based on something that we haven't even produced yet. So there is a lot of risk management involved. So I hear that investing in risk management, in disaster relief. Of course, we had an extreme drought last year. So helping farmers who were negatively impacted by that. Or situations in which farmers are maybe negatively impacted by disasters in other places, such as flooding in the Midwest that causes the Mississippi River to flood here. And then also the price loss coverage program, so helping farmers in the face of volatile commodity markets. We're unique in that we produce a product and we have absolutely no control over how much we're going to be able to sell it for. We start in the spring saying soybean prices are this, or corn prices are this, and so we're going to plant this many acres of corn, this many acres of soybeans, and we're just sort of projecting what we think prices are going to do. But at the end of the day, we don't determine that. And so the Farm Bill is important for us to be able to weather any kind of volatility that occurs in the market.
I like to think of farming as taking your money to Vegas, throwing it up in the air, and hoping that you come away with some. Recently, I had a farmer to start the year, and I don't think any of you in this room have to do this. He had to go borrow $4 million before he ever purchased a seed to put in the ground, hoping that at the end of the growing season, the weather, the prices, and everything else that goes into this would allow him to pay back his $4 million, support his family, and still have money in the bank to do his long payments on his $1 million tractor. So I want to ask Wes a question. Tell me what a farmer is now. A lot of farmers now like to be called producers. I forget and call them farmers sometimes, but tell me what a typical producer is in the state of Arkansas.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'll just finish with the thought on the previous question on just why the Farm Bill is so important before I touch on that. But you touched on that with your slide and looking on the economic impact of agriculture to our state's largest industry. And you look at numbers like, okay, I get it. It's big. It's important. Did anybody have lunch today? Anybody enjoy that? That's agriculture. That's our producers. That's our industry that's providing that. And so to the question of what's the right title? What are the growers today? And it goes by a broad range of titles. They're growers. They're producers. They're conservationists. They're to be a farmer, to be a producer today, you've really got to be a business person. You've almost got to be an attorney, an IT manager, a marketer. You have to have so many broad skills, and that's why you may touch on this later. That the agriculture industry is just so exciting for us. It's a huge industry, but it takes so many pieces for agriculture to be successful. The truck drivers, you name it, it all goes into providing the food that sits on the table that we get to enjoy and sustain life for each of us. But it's a big question, and there's a lot of titles that make a producer in the ag industry.
So tell me, now that the Farm Bill dead-ended September 30th of this year, what happens now?
Well, it's interesting. Farm bills aren't about Democrats and Republicans. You hear all about the rancor going on in Washington, and like I said, this is not a partisan thing. It's about regions of the country. Southern agriculture is different than the I's, Illinois, Iowa, Indiana. The Great Plains are different. California is very different. So it's putting all of that together, making it such that it's not a one-size-fits-all. And then, as was alluded to, the various commodities. Rice is different than soybeans, and cotton's different, our specialty crops. We've got livestock, and the list goes on and on. So putting all of those things together, it's not a one-size-fits-all. So we're in the process of doing that. The other thing, too, that we have to remember about the Farm Bill is the only aspect that has anything to do with farm country or farmers is about 14%. The Farm Bill is over $1.5 trillion. It started out at $867 billion, projected in 2018. It's morphed to 1.5. Most of that increase, nutrition has doubled. So only 300 billion of that 1.5 trillion plus has anything to do with rural America or farmers. So we've got that aspect, which is also, a really important component. So we're continuing to work. Myself and Senator Stabenow, as I said, get along very, very well. We're trying to figure out, as you can imagine, it's complex. And part of the major reason for that is the 2018 Farm Bill was written with 2012 data. The world is very, very different now. We've had a reset. All of your businesses, and you all represent all kinds of things. Your payroll increases are being dramatic, your cost of equipment, all of that's gone on in farm country. So we've got to reset the risk management tools so that they're meaningful. If we don't do that, then we're essentially going to plow on, with tools that don't work anymore. So that's going to cost some money. So we're trying to figure out where we can come up with that as we go forward. But we're committed to getting this done, hopefully by the end of the year, if not early into next year.
Well, if only 14% of the bill is really directed towards the farmers, 86% of that is directed towards food insecurity programs or food supply programs. So why are they not separate? Why are they all in the same bill?
Well, it goes back a long time ago. The food programs were created for farmers to get rid of excess products. So, it's always kind of been that way. And then a partnership was formed with urban America and rural America is to get things done. But I'm a big advocate. One of my things has been we need to put more farm in the Farm Bill. In the sense that rural America is hemorrhaging. And, the best example of that, I was in Texas. Texas is by far the fastest growing state in the country. And yet 56% of the counties in Texas lost population. So you've got this massive migration into the urban areas. And then like Arkansas, I think 52 or 53 of our 75 counties lost population. So you've got this big, demographic shift even within the states. So we didn't lose population as a whole, but like I say, rural America is really hemorrhaging. And the thing that is left, the thing that is so very important is agriculture, which allows us, as we continue on with people like you that do such a great job, to continue to have the cheapest, safest food supply of any place in the world. It's hard to imagine, the cost of our food out of our paycheck, the percentage compared to the rest of the world. We're minuscule compared to anybody. So that's something that's taken a lot of hard work. We need to protect that as we go forward.
Well, I know as you go away from the cities like Little Rock, Northwest Arkansas, other areas, you see that the infrastructure is not in place in these rural areas. There's a lack of broadband support. And I brought the best tool I have for managing farms. and farmers, you won't see one without one of these iPads. Almost everything they check every day. And not just the weather, which is what most everybody thinks farmers check, but they check the market. So no longer are the markets impacted by what happens in Texas or what happens in Iowa. It happens China, Russia, Ukraine, India. What the commodity prices for our farmers look like are impacted by global. So how can we, as farmers in a small state, help what's happening in the world? Is there anything we can do? Wes, how do farmers deal with the global issues that make a difference in the prices? I mean, you get market reports twice a day. You don't like to see the black dots on the market report. So how do we deal with that?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. It's a more complicated. It's a global world now for sure, and so all of your points are accurate. Where what happens in Russia and Ukraine had an impact on what happened in the U.S. and on our production. So you've seen commodity shifts. You've seen impacts to the supply chain on bringing fertilizer into the U.S. and a lot of that coming from that region. And so there are certainly implications on that. And so I think broadly, again, why the Farm Bill is important, why Senator Bozeman plays such an incredible role and such an important role for Arkansas and for U.S. agriculture in general, is to help address those issues and those concerns. And so it takes a partnership at both the federal level and the state level to be mindful of that. And it's also, we may see something on the government side that maybe a producer isn't aware of, and so it's kind of our responsibility to help share that information with them to make sure that they're aware of that and to address issues and shortfalls and shortcomings and supply chain issues. And we've seen a lot of that happening, especially over the last few years, and all indications are that it will continue and will continue to be a very complex marketplace.
Tell us what percentage of rice is in the state is exported, the importance of export.
Oh, I think the majority of rice from Arkansas is actually exported outside of the United States. Yeah.
And the thing about exporting too is if any of you pay attention, the Mississippi River's been low. What happens is those grains either wind up not being able to take to the elevators. The elevators can't get them on the barges can't get them down the river. We can't export them. Some product winds up rotting because there's no place to store it. So farmers are lucky if they have grain bins or if their landlords have grain bins that they can use. And a lot of them also look at the prices and some store them like that. But I want to ask you about research, because when I read the 2018 Farm Bill, the short version, it said in there that it was to promote trade, which we know that we're doing daily, but also to promote research. So tell us a little bit about your research. What you do on your farm different than what most people do on their farms? We produce,
Right.
We send it to the elevators, they process it someplace else, but your operation is a little different. Tell us about it.
Well, and we do traditional commercial farming as well for rotation. So we do send our corn and soybeans, a pretty good size of acres, to the granary. But our specialty is in genetics. So we do in-field testing and increases of new genetic varieties of soybeans and rice. And we work with geneticists at the USDA for rice. It's basically our responsibility to help companies and universities to test these varieties in the field and make sure there's enough volume to actually send to farmers once it goes to the commercial market. This year we have over 150 different varieties of soybeans and over 20 different varieties of rice. And when I say varieties of rice, we had a white rice on your plate. We grow rice that's purple and red. We grow sweet rice and sake rice. So we have over 20 different varieties. We are responsible for maintaining the genetic integrity of those varieties. As far as research goes, given what I've seen, my mom, who's here, she's the OG ag researcher on our farm. So I took over from her in 2019. Working beside her as a kid and then taking over in 2019, I have kind of courtside seats to seeing the development of genetics specifically in soybeans. it is one of the most important tools that we have. Biotechnology is what can get us to higher volumes from an acre. It can help farmers reduce the amount of chemicals needed for fighting weeds and pests. It's one of the best ways that we can fight the extreme weather patterns that we're seeing from climate change. Investment in research at both the public and private level, I've seen, has really made strides, and I'm very excited to see what comes next.
Yeah. Well, thank you for everything you do in terms of research. I know that makes a difference, and the farmers and producers or growers, whatever we call them, are always interested in what the latest and greatest is, and we're always happy to hear that. Part of the Farm Bill in 2018 also had a lot to do with helping young farmers who want to become farmers, which, as you can imagine, if you're borrowing, if you buy a used combine, it's $750,000. And think of a young farmer coming out of college, because almost every farmer has 1, 2, some more degrees. They're coming out of college, they're trying to get established as a beginning farmer. They don't have the resources to fund that. So in the Farm Bill, there are provisions to help beginning farmers. Tell us about that, because we want to keep them down on the farm if we can, if they want to be farmers. I know you're 6th generation. Our production has 6th generation farmers. I have a lot of older farmers, but out of the 10 I probably have 6 that are less than 45. So it's hard for them to get established unless they've come from a farming family like you have. So Wes, tell us what the state is doing, and then Senator, can you tell us nationally what you're doing to support young farmers? Because as you heard, it's a critical #1 industry in this state.
Yeah, it is, and so the average age of the farmer continues to go up every year. So there are certainly challenges, and I'll say I was one of those guys who wasn't standing when you said who grew up on a farm. So my parents weren't producers, but grew up in Northeast Arkansas in row crop country, next door to a cotton gin. So I grew up with agriculture, but my family wasn't producers or growers. So I do think that there's a lot of opportunities for people to be involved in agriculture that aren't necessarily someone who owns a farm, because the barriers to entry are significant and substantial. The operating loans just to even get started are really, really challenging. But I think that's where we try, I think with emphasis on Farm Bill and different programs that we have, to try to just expose people who maybe didn't even grow up on a farm, those who did and those who didn't. There's a broad range of careers available. And the ones who want to actually be a producer, helping them make those introductions to farmers and saying, hey, is there a place where they can potentially lease some ground or get started that way, but also expose them to the broad range of careers that are in the agriculture industry.
In the Farm Bill we have and will continue to have, and hopefully will even increase the ability to help young farmers, help people get in the business. I think we've got 2 challenges: keeping people that are already in the business farming, because of the fact that our economists tell us that the return of investment, when you take away the increase in land value, is about 2%. You can do anything and do better than 2%. It's a lot of hard work. Labor is a huge issue on the farm. So there's a lot of headwinds. So we need to protect the people that are in the business now. The average age is about 58. That's a real problem with our demographics anyway. People are getting, we have an aging population. Farmers are wondering, do I want to stay in the business and use my equity up that they've worked so hard? Or do they go ahead and get out, sell out, and use the land values that they've got to cash in? And then on top of that, like I say, the demographics are such, people are getting married much later, they're having fewer children. There's just fewer people to actually get into the business. And we're seeing this throughout the board. 40% of the healthcare professionals in Arkansas are 60 or older. That would be true, with so many of our professions. So it's a real challenge, but it is something that's critical, that it's going to take all of us working together to promote, and it really does all start with the Farm Bill.
Would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, I recognize that I have an incredible amount of privilege coming from a farming family. I mean, if you inherit land, if you inherit an operation, if you can study, and get learn your lessons from your parents or your grandparents. My dad farmed first with his grandfather when he was 10 years old. So I recognize the privilege I have in terms of being able to farm. And you also really have to like digging in the dirt to farm. I mean, you got to live it, you got to breathe it, especially this time of year when we're running, daylight to dark in our combines. One of the things that I found pretty astounding, I actually went to talk to the 8th graders at my son's school recently. They had a STEAM-a-Palooza day, and they invited a lot of professionals in. And I started by showing aerial photographs of Little Rock versus aerial photographs of my farm, and the students were astounded. They hadn't the slightest idea what Arkansas even looks like. But we had a lot of fun talking about what farming is, and a lot of them expressed interest in the jobs, not necessarily the farming jobs, but the need for chemists, the need for geneticists, the need for agronomists. I think that getting young people interested in those kinds of careers can really help bolster the agricultural industry and bring young people in.
Well, when I think about that, I know U of A is working on programs with two-year colleges to put together some kind of action like Elizabeth Anderson put together in the Business Academy in Lone Oak, where they bring students in for a half a day and teach them how to deal with diesel engines. One of the companies that I deal with that repairs a lot of our equipment is like, I have older people who can fix it. I have younger people who can do the diagnostics on the equipment, but neither one can do the other. So there's a great need out there in terms of putting together programs to incentivize for young high school students internships or some kind of program like that. From the standpoint of farmers, do you hear an interest from them in having these young students come in, be interns, college students come in?
Oh, absolutely. As Senator Bozeman mentioned earlier, we hear just about every conversation that we have with producers is the labor issues, and so there's a demand for all kinds of just on-farm labor, people who can work on equipment, people who can even change the oil. I mean, it's just there's a broad need across the board, just finding people who are able and willing to work, especially taking some of the rural-urban dynamics is incredibly challenging. So labor and getting people who are interested in that sort of work is really difficult.
One of the things in the 2018 Farm Bill is about conservation of the land and putting land into conservation programs. I'd like for each of you to speak to that. So I like to say farmers, producers, and growers were conservationists way before it was cool to be that. So tell us a little bit about on a national level, state level, and from a real local level, what conservation means to you and how you see it working and how we could perhaps go about being better stewards of our land.
Well, my farm is about 2,000 acres, and we have about 3 different soil types on our farm. So when we talk about regenerative farming practices, which we are trying on our farm, there is not a one-size-fits-all. It's going to vary farm to farm and field to field. But what we are trying are some more popular regenerative farming techniques like planting into no-till environments or minimum-till environments, encouraging soil health by not disking a field every year, sequestering carbon to reduce our emissions, saving on diesel. We've converted several wells from diesel to electric for energy savings. When we think about conservation, the first benefit is we save money. So farmers save money by not tilling, not putting equipment in the field so much, not putting people in the field so much, saving on our water bills. And the benefit there is that it's also more environmentally friendly. I heard someone say that you won't find a lot of farmers who identify as environmental activists, but we're all active environmentalists. So it is important for us to save money and help the environment at the same time. I will say the challenge is it's expensive. If we're putting 30% of our acres into cover crops, I have to buy that seed, and it cost about $17,000. I wanted to do a minimum to no-till environment. I had to buy a no-till drill for about $30,000, and I had to buy a permanent bedder for about $25,000. And I've applied multiple times to get money from the NRCS and have been turned down due to chronic underfunding. So we are fronting all this cash up front, knowing that we're going to have long-term benefits. But that's not the reality for a lot of farmers. So when we talk about conservation, we talk about farmers wanting to make these changes, wanting to make ourselves more environmentally and financially sustainable, but having that barrier to entry.
No, I've heard a lot of presentations about conservation. I think that's about as good as it gets, summing up the challenges. And certainly, we're so blessed. You know, when you look at, and the research component goes with the conservation. When you look at our inputs, the amount of fertilizer we use and pesticides, those have stayed level. Production has gone up like this. And that's because of the ingenuity and the hard work of the American farmer primarily. So as was said, you know, we need to do these things, but it does have to be that they actually work for the farmer. And so there's a lot of things out there. You mentioned broadband, which is so important. That is actually a good story. I'm a co-chair of the Broadband Caucus, and we're working really hard to make it such that is throughout the country. There's a lot of money in the pipeline. That's actually a very, very good story. It's just going to take a while to do the build out because of supply chain and just the magnitude. It's like a rural electrification. It's going to happen. But so much of this technology is dependent, you know, on having things like broadband. And then, as you mentioned, the complexity, sometimes the inability of the farmer to do the paperwork, and then you do the paperwork and you don't get chosen, or you get chosen, it's 2 years before you actually get it done. So we're working really hard on just making things work better that way. That doesn't cost money. Certainly, you know, providing more money so there is the greater ability to participate is one thing. But even if you are fortunate enough to participate, there's lots of roadblocks there. So we're working hard to get those out of the way and make things a lot more efficient.
That's right. That's why broadband is so important, so you can fill out those thousands of pages on the applications. I've had experience online and not sitting at your desk and printing out and trying to figure out how the heck you put it together and get it back to them. So that is true. I'd like to open it up for questions now. I've asked a lot of my questions. I'd like to see if anybody has questions. Cappy.
Thank you. Senator Bozeman, thank you so very much for all of the work that you've done. I'm Cappy Peck. I'm intimately involved with the Arkansas Hunger Relief Alliance. So I'm going to ask a question, and I bet there are very few people in this room that understand this. SNAP, formerly known as food stamps, is part of the Farm Bill. And SNAP affects everybody, the economy, the retailers, the farmers, and the food insecure. We're one of the most food insecure states in the country. We're making headway, but 16,000 Arkansans are food insecure, and 20% of children are, 1 in 5. So my question to you, and you've been a champion, will the final bill protect SNAP?
No, very definitely. Like I say, when you look at the old Farm Bill, $867 billion, that's morphed into $1.5 trillion. SNAP has doubled. And so certainly there will be a big SNAP component. My concern with SNAP is that as you say, I understand as well as anybody the food insecurity. It's sadly, most of the people, the biggest group on SNAP are people that are working 1 or 2 jobs. They're working minimum wage jobs, maybe a little bit over minimum wage. You can imagine if you're a single mom trying to make it a little bit over minimum wage, you just aren't going to make it. You know, it's very, very difficult. If you're drawing $1,200, $1,400 on Social Security these days, you're paying the rent, you're paying your utilities and your food. All of that has gone up dramatically you've got a huge problem. So what I would like to see, the other part of the SNAP program is the training aspect, and our states don't do a good job with marrying the working poor with the people that need additional training. So I would love to see in 5 years from now that we've got significantly reduced SNAP numbers, not because we kicked people off the program, because we brought up people where they could actually make a living wage. So no, we're committed to doing what we need to do, but that is a huge problem with inflation.
Well, thank you, and you've been such a champion. Thank you again. And
We like
Kathy
you
Webb
guys. We appreciate all you do.
wanted to be here today, but you'll
Kathy's
see her.
great.
You'll see her tomorrow
You
at the
guys,
Arkansas
nobody
College
does a better
Summit
job.
for
and
hunger.
we do appreciate the
Thank
hard
you.
work.
Thank you, Cappy. Anyone else have a question? Dan?
You know, there's been a lot of talk about this, and it's really important. And so we actually, myself and Senator Stabenow had a hearing about this a couple weeks ago, and you should look on the Senate Ag website, and you'll see the testimony that was given. And it turns out that there's a couple things going on. First of all, there's a lot of investment in areas where they shouldn't be investing in the sense you've got maybe a group that the Chinese are trying to build a mill next to a very sensitive air base or something. You know, we all know what that's about. So what we've proposed is that the group called CFIUS, it's a group that really determines any of the big acquisitions that go on if they have to do with national security, okay? In regard to like the Chinese owning, the Chinese, I think, own 1% of the foreign ownership. It's really not what you'd think, okay? But it is in critical areas, and we need to fix that. The biggest, I think the biggest are the Canadians. They own a bunch of land, in the United States. They've owned a bunch of timberland in Arkansas, and again, these are creating jobs and they're doing things. So it's a matter of just kind of looking at all of that. To be honest, I'm concerned about it. You have to, the reason we did the hearing, the reason we're investigating, you've got to know the extent of the problem before you can solve it, okay? My bigger concern is hedge funds buying up farmland. So right now, if you ask people, how do you hedge against inflation, the big boys, they'll say gold and farmland. Farmland is a store. And so they don't really care if anything's grown on it or not. They're buying it just as a store of value, something that will maintain its value and perhaps increase in years to come. But if you're just buying it, you don't really care if you're producing anything, then those dollars aren't going into that rural community. So it's I think that's also a problem that we're looking at that is something we need to be concerned about.
Thank you. That's all the time we have for questions. But listening to Natalie talk today, I learned something. So I'd like for you to put my last slide up. And I think you're all going to have laughter, which is going to make you happy. Corn makes whiskey, grape makes wine, potatoes make vodka, sugarcane makes rum. You can't have a happy hour without a farmer, and you're welcome.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh, that's great, Ellen. Thank you guys so much, Senator Bozeman, Ellen, Wes, and Haley. Thank you guys. This is an incredible panel, and you gave us some real insights into what's happening into our very important agriculture scene here. So thank you. Really quick, I'd like to give each of you a little something for being here today. Thank you so much. This features, it's a little thing for your desk, and it features a mural that is now complete in the River Market. And actually, you're so welcome. Thank you. If you can make it tomorrow, guys, at 10:30 tomorrow morning, right in front of the River Market parking garage where this beautiful mural is, we're celebrating that. Mayor Scott will be there and Gabe Holmstrom with Downtown Little Rock Partnership, and we're going to have the artist Jessica Jones there who will talk a little bit about how she came up with this beautiful design. It's super fun, and we're so excited that it's complete and there for everybody to enjoy because, again, our theme is the power of fun, and this is definitely a big on fun moment for the River Market. So if you guys will stay here for a picture really quick, so just hang with us. Next week is it's kind of part 2 of today. We're gonna do a whole panel on Arkansas's food scene. Pamela Smith, who's here somewhere, is going to moderate. There she is. Thank you for doing that. It's gonna have some of Arkansas's food gurus telling us the latest on the restaurant and food scene. So definitely wanna be here for that. As a reminder, really quick, Karen is sending an email later today. Our dinner parties are back, so November 7th, we will not have a lunch meeting. It'll be dinner parties at homes and businesses and different locations of Club 99ers who have graciously said that they will host all of our members. So you'll get an email where you're signing up. You can absolutely bring a guest. We welcome that. And then we will email you back. Karen will email you back later this month to tell you where your dinner party location will be. So it's super fun. If you haven't done it, you'll definitely want to sign up. Again, thank you, Sister Cities Commission and visitors for being here today. We're so glad to have you. So we are adjourned.